Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. How many of you have made a mistake? Not just a little slip up, but a real gut-wrenching, I can't believe I did that kind of mistake. The kind that keeps you up at night replaying in your head like a broken record. Maybe it cost you a job. Maybe it cost you a relationship. Maybe it made you question who you are. Now let me tell you something else. That mistake was your greatest teacher. Not the people who clapped for you when you won, not the ones who patted you on the back when everything was going right. No, it's that last mistake. The one that hurt, the one that humbled you, the one that made you rethink everything. That will teach you more than any success ever could. See, we live in a world that tells you to fear failure, to avoid mistakes at all costs, but the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. The only difference between the people who make it and the people who don't is that the successful ones learn from their last mistake instead of running from it. They don't let it define them, they let it refine them. So tonight I want to talk to you about something powerful, why your best teacher is your last mistake. I want to show you how to take that setback, that disappointment, that moment of regret, and use it to push yourself to the next level. Because if you can learn from your last mistake, you won't just be better, you'll be unstoppable. Mistakes are life's wake-up calls. There's something about a mistake that shakes you to your core. It doesn't just tap you on the shoulder, it slaps you across the face and dares you to ignore it. That's because mistakes aren't here to break you. They're here to wake you up. They force you to take a hard look at yourself, at your choices, at the path you're walking. Without mistakes, we'd sleepwalk through life, comfortable in our habits, never questioning, never growing. Think about the last time you failed at something big. Maybe it was a business venture that crashed. Maybe you trusted the wrong person. Maybe you made a decision that backfired spectacularly. In that moment, it hurt. It was embarrassing. But if you pay attention, you'll see that your mistake is not an ending. It's a beginning. A mistake is like a mirror that shows you exactly who you are in that moment. It doesn't lie. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't care about your feelings. But here's the good news. It also shows you who you could become. It reveals your weaknesses, your blind spots, your bad habits. And if you're willing to listen, it will also show you the way forward. The difference between people who succeed and people who stay stuck is simple. The ones who succeed don't hit snooze on their wake-up call. They take responsibility. They study their mistakes. They use them as fuel to get better. And because of that, they don't just move on, they move up. So the next time life hands you a wake-up call, don't ignore it. Answer it. Listen to what it's trying to tell you, because that mistake might be the very thing that leads you to your breakthrough. Pain is a temporary professor, but the lesson is forever. Mistakes hurt. There's no way around it. But pain is a teacher, and like every great teacher, it has a purpose. It's not here to punish you, it's here to prepare you. Because without pain, there is no growth. Without discomfort, there is no change. Think about the last time you went through something that shook you. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you invested in something that didn't work out. Maybe you broke someone's trust or someone broke yours. That pain felt unbearable at the time. But now, Looking back, don't you see the lesson? Don't you see how that moment shaped you? How it forced you to adapt, to think differently, to move differently? That's because pain, when used correctly, becomes wisdom. And wisdom will take you places that talent and luck never could. But most people don't want to sit with pain long enough to learn the lesson. They want to numb it, run from it, distract themselves. They don't want to face what it's trying to teach them. And that's why they repeat the same mistakes over and over again. If you don't listen to pain, you'll have to take the test again and again and again. Life doesn't let you skip steps. It will keep giving you the same lesson in different ways until you learn it. But once you do, once you take that pain and turn it into power, nothing can stop you. So don't fear pain. Respect it. Learn from it. Let it sharpen you, not shatter you. Because when the pain fades, the lesson remains. And that lesson, that's what's going to take you to the next level. Growth begins where comfort ends. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. It's where dreams go to sleep, where ambition fades, and where potential is left unrealized. We love comfort because it's safe, it's predictable. But growth only happens when we step into the unknown, when we push past our limits, when we make mistakes that force us to evolve. Think about any person who has ever achieved something great. Do you think they got there by playing it safe? No, they got there by stepping into situations where failure was a real possibility. They took risks. They made mistakes. They fell down and had to get back up again. And through those mistakes, they grew stronger, smarter, better. Every mistake you make is a sign that you're stretching beyond what you used to be. It means you're trying, you're learning, you're doing something new. And that discomfort you feel, that's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're on the right path. Because the version of you that reaches your goals cannot be the same version of you that started. Growth requires transformation. And transformation comes from struggle. But too many people run back to their comfort zone the moment things get hard. The moment they stumble, they tell themselves, maybe this isn't for me. They let fear dictate their choices instead of letting faith push them forward. And as a result, they never see what they're truly capable of. The truth is, your last mistake isn't proof that you should stop. It's proof that you're growing. It's evidence that you're in the process of becoming more than you were yesterday. And if you embrace that process, if you lean into the discomfort instead of running from it, you will come out on the other side transformed. So the next time you mess up, don't retreat into comfort. Instead, recognize that growth is happening even if it doesn't feel like it. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep pushing, because the person you are becoming is worth it. Mistakes don't define you. How you respond to them does. You are not your mistakes. Let me say that again. You are not your mistakes. Your mistakes are something you did, not something you are. But too often we let our failures become our identity. We take one bad decision, one wrong move, and we let it define us for the rest of our lives. The difference between the people who rise and the people who fall isn't that one group never made mistakes. It's that one group learned from them, while the other group let those mistakes become their prison. If you walk around carrying the weight of every failure, replaying every regret, telling yourself that you're not good enough because of what happened in the past, you will never reach your full potential. Think about some of the most successful people in the world. Do you think they never failed? No. They just refused to let failure be the final chapter. They understood that mistakes were part of the journey, not the end of the road. They used their failures as stepping stones instead of roadblocks. The truth is, life is always going to test you. It's going to put obstacles in your way, throw challenges at you, knock you down when you least expect it. But what defines you isn't the mistake, it's how you respond. Do you get back up? Do you learn the lesson? Do you adjust, improve, and keep moving forward? Because that is what separates the great from the average. So if you've been carrying the weight of a past mistake, let it go. Take the lesson and leave the guilt behind. Because you are not defined by your past. You are defined by what you do next. The greatest comebacks start with the hardest falls. Everybody loves a good comeback story. We admire the people who fall to their lowest point and somehow, against all odds, rise again. But what we often forget is that every great comeback starts with a great fall. Without the fall, there is no rise. Without the struggle, there is no strength. Without the failure, there is no comeback. So many people want the victory without the battle. They want the success without the struggle. But the depth of your fall determines the height of your rise. The lower you go, the higher you can climb, if you're willing to do the work. History is filled with people who faced devastating failures before achieving greatness. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah was fired from her first television job. Steve Jobs was kicked out of the company he founded. But guess what? They didn't let their failures be the end of their story. They used them as fuel for their greatest comeback. If you've fallen, if you've made mistakes that have knocked you down, you have two choices. Stay there or get back up and fight for your comeback. Your setback is only permanent if you accept it as the final chapter. But if you decide that your story isn't over, if you decide to rise again, you will come back stronger than ever. And when you do, the very thing that tried to break you will become the thing that built you. Success is built on a foundation of failures. Success is not a straight line. It's not a perfect, smooth road where everything goes according to plan. No. Success is messy. It's full of wrong turns, dead ends, setbacks, and moments where you feel like quitting. But if you look at any successful person, you will see that their success was built on a foundation of failures. Every failure, every mistake, every misstep, they all play a role in shaping you into the person who is ready for success. Because the truth is, success isn't just about talent or intelligence, it's about resilience. It's about how many times you're willing to fail and get back up. It's about how much you're willing to learn from your mistakes instead of letting them defeat you. Most people never reach success because they think failure is a sign to stop. But the people who truly succeed understand that failure is part of the process. They expect it. They embrace it. They use it as a teacher instead of an enemy. Think about it. If everything always went right, if you never made a mistake, how would you grow? How would you improve? How would you develop the strength and wisdom needed to handle real success? The truth is, without failure, success wouldn't mean anything. So don't be afraid of making mistakes, be afraid of staying the same, because every failure is just another step toward your breakthrough. Failure is not the end, it's the beginning of something greater. Too many people treat failure like like the final sentence in their story. They hit a wall, make a mistake, or fall short of their goal, and they assume it means they weren't meant to succeed. But let me tell you something. Failure is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something greater. Every great achievement in history started with failure. Every groundbreaking innovation, every world-changing movement, every legendary success, it all began with someone failing, learning, and refusing to give up. Because failure is not a stop sign, it's a green light in disguise. It's life telling you, not this way, but keep going. It's a signal that you're in motion, that you're trying, that you're pushing towards something bigger than yourself. Think about Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb. He failed over 1,000 times before he got it right. When asked how he felt about failing so many times, he didn't see it as failure, he saw it as progress. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000,000 ways that won't work." That's the mindset of someone who understands that failure is not the end, it's part of the process. But here's the problem, most people don't stick around long enough to see the breakthrough on the other side of failure. They quit too soon. They take one rejection, one disappointment, one mistake, and they walk away, never realizing that they were inches away from success. They were right there, right on the edge. But they let failure convince them to stop. You cannot let failure be the final word in your story. You have to use it, you have to learn from it, you have to let it fuel you instead of stop you. Every time you fail, you are one step closer to figuring it out. Every time you make a mistake, you gain experience. Every setback is preparing you for a greater comeback, if you refuse to give up. So hear me when I say this, failure is not the end of you. It's not proof that you should quit. It's not a sign that you're not good enough. Failure is simply life's way of asking you, how bad do you want it? And if you answer that question with resilience, with persistence, with a commitment to keep going, no matter what, then nothing, not one single mistake, will be able to stop you. Because the only real failure in life is the decision to quit. Your next move after a mistake determines everything. Life is not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. And after every mistake, after every failure, after every disappointment, you have a choice to make. Your next move determines everything. You can let your mistake break you, or you can let it build you. You can let it make you bitter, or you can let it make you better. You can sit in regret, or you can rise in resilience. The people who make it in life, the ones who achieve their dreams, the ones who turn their setbacks into comebacks, they're not the ones who never failed. They're the ones who refuse to let failure be the final word. They studied their mistakes, they adjusted their strategy, and they came back stronger. So if you've made a mistake, good. That means you're in the game. That means you're learning. That means you're growing. But now the real question is, what's your next move? Because your next move after a mistake is what defines your future. Will you stay down, or will you rise? Will you repeat the same mistake, or will you learn the lesson? The choice is yours, and that choice will shape the rest of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to understand something. Your mistakes do not define you. Your response to them does. Every setback, every failure, every wrong turn, it's all part of the process. It's part of the making of you. If you look at the greatest people in history, the most successful individuals in any field, you will see one common thread. They learned from their mistakes and they used them as stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. See, too many people let one mistake stop them. They let one failure make them quit. They let one bad decision convince them that they're not worthy of success. But listen to me. You are not your last mistake. You are your next decision. You get to decide if that mistake is going to be the thing that holds you back or the thing that pushes you forward. The people who succeed in life, they don't let mistakes paralyze them. They don't sit around feeling sorry for themselves. They don't make excuses. They don't dwell on the past. They get up, they learn, and they keep moving forward. And because of that, they turn their biggest failures into their greatest victories. So let me ask you, what will you do with your last mistake? Will you let it break you, or will you let it teach you? Will you let it define your limits, or will you let it show you new possibilities? Because at the end of the day, your best teacher is not success. It's not praise. It's not comfort. Your best teacher is your last mistake. Now go out there, learn the lesson, and make your next move your best move.